Right. I hope y'all enjoyed our song, Be Proud to Be Black. It's such an awesome song if you really listen to the words, because he's featuring Malcolm X and Martin Luther King's words by them. And it's very timely for this day of what's going on. So be proud to be black, because a lot of us are not proud to be black, don't love our skin color, our features, or nothing, and just hate everything about us. So our message is be proud to be black. Amen. Love yourself.
Absolutely.
See Jumbo, everybody. We welcome you to Satora's Black History Corner Internet program. I am your host, Catherine Hunter Williams, along with my co-host, Miss Catherine Blake, also known as Miss B. All right. We have a guest here today.
Amen.
But before I introduce my guest, I want to also make a couple announcements about putting a black woman, on the $20 bill. And what it is all about is they want to replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill because he signed the Indian Removal Act of 1830 that forced the resettlement of American Indian tribes in what became known as the Trail of Tears. Plus, Jackson was known as a foe of paper currency. He didn't like the paper. And Jackson's face has been on the $20 bill since 1929. Now you can go on here, the link is www.womenon20s.org/vote2 /. That's www.womenon20s, that's 20s.org /vote2. And I'm going for is Harriet Tubman. It's 15 different women that were a part of this vote. And so they said the finalist so far is Rosa Parks.
Oh, I didn't vote for Rosa.
Yeah, well, it's there is Harriet. Harriet is really at the bottom. It's a scale if you look on it that they have of all those people. And she was kind of down at the bottom.
Oh. I wonder the reason why. Maybe it's because she was a revolutionary.
And probably because
her.
Yeah,
right. Not that they all weren't, but still.
Not right.
Yeah, but they probably, if they do it, it's gonna be what's her name? Rosa Parks. I'm sorry. There's Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, and Sojourner Truth. Those are the 3 black women, and yes, we can get a black woman. Wouldn't that be awesome? To have a black person, black woman, on a $20 bill, and get rid of that Andrew Jackson. So you can go to that link, www.womenon20s, that's 20s.org /vote2, and vote for who you want to vote. It's a lot of other women on there, but these are the 3 black. And so I'm just saying it would be so awesome to have a black woman on the $20 bill.
Since they're doing a woman, period.
Yeah. And I didn't read about all these other women, but I'm just for my people. So, and they probably for theirs or whatever. I don't, it don't really matter to me. I did my vote, and I think I voted for Harriet Tubman because of what she did.
Yeah.
So. All right, now moving forward, Maya Angelou has I had told y'all about that she had a commemorative stamp out. Well, it's now available.
Right.
And I called that, what's her name? Oprah Winfrey Power. Because the woman just died, and that takes a lot of time to do that. So they done pushed it through this year, and now it's available. Yep. So go to your post office and get that. It's a commemorative, and it's a Black Heritage stamp, and you must ask for Black Heritage. Otherwise, you go up there and ask for stamps, they just give you regular stamps. Oh, and they are forever stamps. So no matter how much the regular stamps go up, they never go up. So it's Maya Angelou commemorative stamp, Black Heritage stamp.
All right.
Now, let's move on and introduce you to our special guest, Priest Elliot McCant from Afro-Jabi African Village. Are you still doing that or not?
No, not at this time.
So it's on hold for a minute?
It's on hold for a while, yes.
Okay. And we're going to have a conversation about why is there so much hatred going on in America. I also want to include police brutality, black on black crime, and the protests about Black Lives Matters. I will set the stage for this conversation by some things that I have received on email or Facebook. And I'm going to start off with Brother George. No, let me start off with this one. And this comes from, I think it's Crisis, the magazine Crisis called Stop Killing Us. We demand an end to death by cop. Well, I want to say stop killing us. We demand an end to the death by cop, but also by our own hands.
Amen.
Yeah, so, so I'm going to just read a little bit. Then I'm going to read a little bit of George, and then we'll get into this conversation.
But you're going to let me comment in there, right?
If you want.
Okay. I'm just checking.
Yeah, it's a conversation, bro.
Okay, well.
All right. Okay, this is called Police Brutality by Ryan Amilcar Scott. And this is the etiquette of police brutality. And y'all might remember some of this stuff that happened. And this is a handy guide to confronting unarmed citizens. And before we finish, we have some other information that John had gave, and I'm gonna let John give this information about instructions round about when we get down to the end of the program, because I do feel that is what our young people need to know, how to deal with the police. When they stop, you don't get up there cursing like my daughter did. I think she went to jail, so now I got respect. I said,
Caution just had a program this past Saturday.
Right.
With Chief Talbert.
Yeah, I was there.
You were there?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
I'll
that.
let you speak.
No, yeah,
Okay,
we'll talk.
and then, like I said, at the end, John will tell us about what's going on at McCree Theater. We'll get to that, because, okay, we got some good time. All right, this here says, go ahead, smack him one. He expects it, so it would be rude not to. Besides, look at him, giving you a dehumanizing stare. Now, that was a little boy that did that. It wasn't he was just watching what they were doing to some other people. Mm-hmm. And that's what they talking about him. Then he said, how dare he look at you in that manner? He thinks he's better than you. Approach in such a way that makes you look huge, immense, a living blue wall of silence, but be loud. Put this guy down before he even starts. This is a little boy. Grab him from behind. Maybe use the baton. You know that in New York they used to say that what they call it, that they would be hitting them in the head with that.
Mm-hmm.
Blackjack.
It was a blackjack, but they called it something else when they was popping them in the head all the time in New York at one point in time.
Well, there's the blackjack, which actually is smaller, and then they got the nightsticks and the riot sticks. They're different sizes, so they go by different words. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't be swayed by his screams and pleas of innocence. As a matter of fact, don't hear them at all. Be deaf to his cries. Now that I want to comment on that one. That was the boy that was shot in Tulsa, Oklahoma, by that policeman who said he was sorry, but he wasn't actually a policeman. He was a retired policeman, off-duty person. Anyway, they had his head to the ground, and he kept telling them he couldn't breathe. He couldn't breathe, and so the guy said, "F, you breathing?" The police said. Mm-hmm. This is all video, But anyway, innocence doesn't really matter here anyway. Sort it out later. Don't be inhibited with the violence, punches, kicks, strangulation holds, baton blows, tasers, and so on. Don't worry, the state has your back. Make up any excuse you want. It doesn't need to sound good. As a matter of fact, it would be insulting to make it sound too plausible. Say something like, he was looking at us all leery, and then he raised his hand. We had to throw him on the ground, smash his face to the concrete, which that's what they do, knock his teeth out, and put him in a chokehold. It's important to neutralize the threat. Toss it off without thinking. F it. Says, he was dancing funny, and I found that threatening. So I was forced to jab him in the ribs. And I'm going to leave it right there because it goes on and on and on and on. And then...
before we go there, And it's one thing that was mentioned on Saturday by Chief Tolbert, was that everybody wants to go home. They want to go to work, come to work, make sure everything is fine and go home. Part of a lot of arguments that we've heard is that you need to be clean. Because there was one thing that he told me when I asked about what probable cause was and why somebody felt that they had probable cause. Well, what if you got a gun sitting in your seat? Well, what if I don't?
Well, don't they have a law today that you could walk with a gun?
Well, as long as you got your CPL or whatever those permits that you have to have, you should be able to do so. And you have to be able to show that you have a license to carry and a permit for it.
Okay.
But probable cause, but where the police, I think, get overboard at is that they figure, well, you've given me reason because I'm fearful of my life, so I'm going to take excessive force. And it ends up killing people. But this is the reason why the Panthers started in the 60s in Oakland, in 67. It's because they saw somebody get brutalized by a police officer. Mm-hmm. And then their response was to arm themselves and monitor and protect their own, which brought some order in the neighborhood, which, and one of the issues right now that we have is we have no order where we live. But the police officer, yes, he may have some fear for his life, but typically you're wearing a flak jacket, even though his head may be exposed and certain parts of his body is exposed, he's got a flak jacket on. That offers him some protection, whereas an unarmed citizen with no body armor on is completely exposed. And so to take extreme measures on a traffic stop or take extreme measures is a bit much for
a broken back light to lose your life.
Right. Your tail light was out. What then? Okay, write the ticket for the broken tail light. I'll get it fixed and let me go.
Yeah,
we don't need to do anything else. But right now, because of what happened in the 80s and 90s with Reagan and then again with Clinton, now it's probable cause, which is where you see this excessive rise of arrests for drugs that you didn't see it before. So this war on drugs is not really just a war on drugs because I'm not bringing in drugs. I don't have the capacity to bring in that type of stuff.
Or guns.
And I don't have the capacity to put semi-automatic and military weapons in my neighborhoods. Now, there was an article in the Flint Journal about a couple in Genesee County that had a 50 cal.
What is that?
That's a big military gun that you have to mount on something as big as a truck,
multiple rounds.
And
that thing that
well, that's a Gatling gun.
Oh,
but it's the same thing. Some of the 50 cals can shoot up to 2.5 miles away and be very accurate and hit this light bulb at 2.5 miles away.
Wow.
What is the reason? There's no reason for you to have a semi-automatic military weapon at your home.
No, it's not. It's not.
Other than being prepared for war, which this is what's getting ready to happen. This is becoming a military state.
Michigan?
The whole country.
Oh, the country.
A military
Okay.
state.
But I want you to go back up because a lot of people, young people, don't know who the Black Panthers is. Just give a brief description of who the Black Panthers are. Just a quick one.
Okay, wow.
Then we can move. I know it's not, but you can do it.
Okay. The Black Panthers were a group of young men and women who started in Oakland, California in 1967. They were watching a police officer do an arrest of a young man because of the prior situations that happened in Oakland where young men and young women would end up dead. So
by police.
By police officers.
Right. Kind of like, it's like that
very
happened
much what's
in
going on right now.
67. That's happening right now.
It's happening right now.
But I don't think it ever stopped. I think it's been going on all along. It's just now people have cell phones.
And the cell phones have helped people to be able to, put this out on social media.
Or like when Rodney King was beaten. He never was right again after he was beaten. But back then they had a
video. Everybody had video
on the shoulder day.
Right.
So that was going on, but you still didn't see it like you're seeing it today.
No, because it's not gonna. It hasn't changed. The police the police service job is to protect and serve, but they're to protect and serve the status quo. They're not to protect and serve the rest of the public, because then you wouldn't have these frivolous killings the way that you do.
The black on black crime?
Well, we didn't get to that
Or-
yet. We were still talking
okay, we'll
about the
get that.
police department
Okay.
and Black Panthers. She's trying to go a little bit too far forward. We're going to come. We're going to get there.
Okay.
So that's the
still talking about the Panthers?
Go talk about the Panthers.
Yeah,
they were
Huey
started
Newton.
by Huey Newton, and he's a friend of mine. I want to say not David Hilliard. He just comes to mind.
Miles.
Bobby Seale.
Bobby Seals.
And my apologies if you see this, brother, because I know you know we follow each other on Facebook. So my apologies for forgetting you for a moment.
Well,
But Bobby,
he's writing cookbooks now, isn't he?
No, not Bobby Seale.
No, it's another one. Then he's writing. The one that went in exile. That was
Eldridge
Bobby
Cleaver.
Seale, wasn't it?
No, that was Eldridge Cleaver that went to in exile.
Okay.
But, yeah, but you know.
But
yeah.
anyway.
So they started this community watch group, and it was the name of the complete group is the Black Panthers for Self-Defense, and they put out propaganda and literature that our school lunch programs and school breakfast programs were started by them in churches
And they gave
in the
out
community,
free
and they
food.
gave out free food, and they gave out literature
Clothing,
and lectures and clothing, and they took care of the community. Now with the government, and I know this is kind of going over here to the left. This is a whole nother
What's his
discussion.
name? Hoover.
Hoover was the head of the FBI, and he
At that
started a
time.
program called COINTELPRO. And they were infiltrated by that and another cultural organization called US.
Well, us is.
But see, we
don't wanna get
wanna say,
there.
no, we're gonna come back.
We're gonna leave.
do
We'll
a
leave that
whole-
alone.
We're gonna do a whole
because us,
program on this.
It's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And eventually, what the police did and what federal agencies did, what they just assassinated the Panther Party
The
until
Panther
they were
Party.
no more.
All basically. Well, it never really. They just went underground, but it's still something they call them the New Panthers.
Yeah, they're not.
But
like
I don't
the
know
other
what
ones.
they
They're-
doing.
nobody knows what they're doing, but talking.
Yeah.
They're just doing a lot of
So,
talking, not a lot
You
of.
know, it
defending.
ain't about just
And
talking.
that's okay.
You gotta
But we
be a little
appreciate the fact
effective.
that these young people, that these young people are taking it upon themselves to be a voice. But what they really need to do is monitor their neighborhoods. And if they monitor their neighborhoods first and foremost, then you are following the footsteps of the old Panthers, which is what they did. But
Okay, that's
we're not
that.
going to
We're
digress.
gonna go to the black.
We're not going to
okay.
digress.
All right. I received a email from Dr. George Moss about if Black Lives Matter, but black on black crime doesn't matter, that is something wrong with that. It should all be inclusive. And as you were saying about them watching their neighborhood, having
Right.
a watch up in the neighborhood, the young people, old people, whoever, watching the neighborhood, because some way or another, this black on black crime is getting, we're being distracted, like I was talking about earlier, by seeing these videos of seeing all these black people being killed by, and it's just a few that we have seen. It is so many more. I be getting so many different information of so many black men and women are being killed,
Right.
and boys, because that little boy Tamar in Cleveland,
12 years
right,
old.
12 years old. So it's much more than that, and it's happening like weekly. But anyway, back to this. They say Black Lives Matter, but does this include black on black crime? All this should matter. And let me just read just a little bit about what Brother Dr. George, as we say, he's finna get some stuff started, but it's a good thing to get started. He says, because, and I'm not gonna read the whole thing because George sent me a 4-page, so I'm gonna just take some at the end. He said, because if it really believed that Black Lives Matter, its message would be Black murders matter. Okay. This is Prager. This is the guy, I guess he was talking to or whatever. He said, you can put your hands up now, and this time ask not to be shot by the ones who are doing all the shooting. Blacks shooting blacks. Then he said, if Black Lives Matter, then black on black crime should matter a lot more than than these hypocritical demonstrations. And I needed George on here to
Wow.
Well, he had a reason for that, he said that. We're going to talk about it. Where people are burning. George ought to call in. Can he call in, John?
Well, I think that what he was saying is that we're willing to protest the murders of our people by another group in another culture.
But we're not
want to protest the murders of our people by each other inside our own community.
You had it.
So
that's what he said.
It's greater for us to complain and cry about somebody that we believe is greater than us.
Yeah.
Than for us to complain and
about
cry
what's happening to us.
that what we're doing to each other.
Yes.
I cannot, as an educator, complain that my sons or daughters are failing in school if I'm not educating them at home.
Absolutely.
But if I'm if I'm making sure that I'm doing my job at home and my sons and daughters leave my home with the best instruction that I can give them, then I have a reason to protest when they're doing poorly in somebody else's hands.
Because you're not doing your
part
job
of it is
at
a
home.
choice. Absolutely.
So if
I'm not taking care of home, if I'm not monitoring my neighborhood, if I'm not making sure that I'm watching the kids when they play basketball or whatever they're doing, and they're not being destructive in my neighborhood, then I can't complain about what happens if they get run over or get shot at or get stopped by a police officer, because it's my job to instruct and teach. So as long as I'm keeping my home manage the best I can, regardless that there being other children there, because they're all mine, then I can't complain about what happens to my sons and my daughters when they're out in the street, unless I believe that they have greater power than I do. And that's the reason why most of these protests are, I don't want to, being idiotic is a big of a word. Because hypocritical. That's hypocritical, because we're not protesting inside of our own neighborhoods. We're not protesting inside our own schools. We're not protesting to make sure things are cohesive and at least tight enough so that we don't have the crack houses and
because we can,
and all of this other
we
stuff.
Come together, we can stop.
Yeah, we can stop all of this stuff, but we choose not to because we want to continue to be a victim of something that we feel has been imposed upon somebody. They have done that. Mm-hmm. They have created a system so that we can be victims. But we want to be a greater victim and run around having these so-called icons run and say, we're going to go to war and we doing this and doing that and doing the other, than to say, hey, look, wait a second. That boy over there don't need to be stealing. Let's stop that. And if he raises his mouth, if he opens his mouth, then we as men and women need to stop to take him to his pants. It doesn't matter.
That's the way it used to be back in the...
Well, but see, that's the reason why we walk around here with these cardboard plaques talking about Black Lives Matter, but we don't want to turn around and say, your life matters to me, and your life matters to me. But we want to say that to somebody else that don't, no offense, but take it how you want to, don't look like us, that you're greater than me, so I'm protesting you hurting me because I love you more than I love myself. That's an issue.
Yep. But back in the day, it was a village that raised the children.
Right.
If you did something wrong, that's when we really looked out for one another. That went away somewhere. I don't know where.
Well, it went away when we decided that we was going to leave our neighborhoods and go be in somebody else's neighborhood in the 50s when we could integrate.
Oh, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Well, I mean, but it started when we
Martin Luther King's dream, integration. I mean, okay,
you just gave me a headache.
Just leave that alone.
Yeah.
But it was.
Yeah,
that's what made
but then we continued to follow that. And then what the institutions did was they said, not a problem, we'll give you something for following something else instead of staying where you were better at.
Maybe better.
We were better.
It wasn't better. We had roach infested rat. No, until our mother moved us, then it was better.
Well, you just was able to get more privileges. But you still had a cohesive neighborhood that you didn't have 80-something% dropout rates. You didn't have teen pregnancies. Now, you had them, but you didn't have teen pregnancies out the window. You didn't have family members molesting or raping children. You still had it.
We did. We
had, but you didn't have it in the excessive numbers that you have now. You didn't have the drugs pouring in the way that you do now. You wouldn't have none of that stuff.
Go back in a little bit of Flint history. That when they had blacks all boxed in from Hamilton Street to Pearson Road, from Saginaw Street to St. John area because we couldn't live across Saginaw
Right.
Street until Mayor McCree got that Open Housing Act in the 60s.
Right,
Then
1967.
people started moving out into better homes because I'm telling you, where we were living at, it was messy.
It was messy,
was
but it was
messy.
still home. And you didn't have to no bars on the windows. You
No
could leave your
doors,
doors open.
yep.
Okay, so you had a
That's- you
sense of
can't do that no
security.
more.
No, you had a sense of security that you don't have anymore.
Well, when
now,
did it change, Elliot? It changed when they did urban.
It changed with
renewal.
urban renewal.
I call it
and-
urban Negro. Negro urban renewal.
What they did it purposefully.
They went
because
down-
They
yeah.
went down with 475 over there where we used to live at which no longer exists.
Well, where you
Clark
live
School.
is Sugar Hill, ain't it?
No, I don't know what it's called over there.
They
where I
call it
live at.
Sugar Hill.
Okay, well,
That's
I don't
the
know what
Flint
it's
history because a lot of the people from the south, from across the track, that's the St. John area. When they moved them out, they moved south over to that side, and they called it Sugar Hill because some of them could not live in Sugar Hill. But we getting off track because we
No,
we
well, I
going
mean
into
it's all
Flint
it's all
history.
relative. It's all relative.
Okay, but we only have like so many minutes, so
Okay.
we got to get
Oh,
back.
well, okay.
Okay, back to what George was talking about, Dr. George Moss. If Black Lives Matter, then black on black crime should matter a lot more than these hypocritical demonstrations and Priest Elliot Priest McCants. These are my friends, and it's hard to call them these titles.
I'm not titled. I'm just.
I just got to call
work
you what it
here.
is. Yeah.
Okay.
He explained what he meant about hypocritical, and that's exactly what Dr. George Moss told me. Where people are burning down their communities over black hoodlums who are getting shot at the end of incidents that were escalated by these thugs who were killed. The graphic video showing this ridiculous police officer shooting a man in the back will be charged with manslaughter, and he did talk about
Right.
that and not murder. And demagogues
So-
should save the hot air when it happens because the jury will be looking at aggravating circumstances. Then he talked about hands up, don't shoot is just another slogan that shows disdain for black life.
Right.
Another form, a very subtle form of black on black crime. If Black Lives Matter to these demonstrators, they would be carrying signs that inform our blacks of how to respond, other blacks, I'm sorry, of how to respond in similar situations in the future so as not to end up suffering the same fate. If black on black crime in all of its forms doesn't matter, then just shut up.
And that should be first and foremost. That means where we really need to, of course, police our community, and that if you're and you know the rules, because if what typically happens is, well, you black, I'm black. I don't have to respect you. You know,
No respect for life.
No respect for life. I don't have to respect your color because I don't respect myself.
Yep. I hate myself as a matter
so I hate
of fact.
myself, so I hate you. But yet I want to turn around and carry a sign that says Black Lives Matter. I'm not saying that you don't know the rules, okay? If you're doing 50 and a 25 and you get caught, give me the ticket, keep it moving. If you got some other stuff that you've done, hey, whatever you need to do in order to make sure that you live out of that situation, then you do so. You got to do it, period, because you're not in a position of power. But if we were in positions of power, we would be first and foremost trying to make sure that our records, according to this government establishment, meant something. And then after that, you can put that type of behavior in check. Okay, so if I know that I've got 17 warrants for speeding and I'm still speeding and I get caught and I know I've got warrants, I know I'm going to get arrested. Period. I get arrested. Why am I resisting? Because I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to. I did it. It's my fault. I broke the rules. No matter what. No different than saying, as an example, 4 o'clock in the morning, I want a pizza. I know at 4 o'clock in the morning it's going to make me sick. That's, you break the rule, you get sick. You already knew it. Same stuff. Okay? Yes, there's other circumstances. But if I've got 17 warrants and I get stopped on a traffic stop, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna get locked up. That's part of their rules. So, and it's not, oh, I'm gonna get mad and run off and this and that. That's dumb. Then now we got to go through this whole other thing. But does it require excessive force? No, because you got a warrant on me. So even if I do get away, what does it mean for you to shoot me? Nothing. Now I'm gone. If I die, I'm gone. Or if I'm just hurt, then I get an opportunity to sue the police department, sue the state. I can sue everybody
For wrongful death.
For wrongful.
It's not wrongful death.
No, I'm still living. I may be in a wheelchair though.
Oh.
Excessive force for anything that I can think of and run a list of, and then you still don't get your money for the warrants that I had in the first place. But my life is messed up because of the over excessiveness and the use of force, over excessive use of force by the police officer over some traffic warrants. Now, if I'm killing people, that's a completely different situation. You're going to shoot me in the back for traffic warrants. Just like my man in South Carolina got shot in the back and killed because he owed child support. At least that was one of their excuses. Oh, he owed child support.
They always make excuses. Right. And, they always put the person, make him look bad.
Yeah, they have to make him look bad. Because, and that's a media situation, really which is institutional racism. That's the media. Same thing with the boy in Ferguson. He had his hands up, but they want to show him robbing. Yep. Really? But wait a minute. The cops
Eric Garner, who was selling cigarettes.
Selling cigarettes, and that's wrong. But yet you got these corner stores that sell cigarettes all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's what they choose to point out, what the media chooses to focus on, and happens all the time because that's an institution that's run and used by the greater culture in order to continue to denigrate black people and other people of color in this culture,
and
in
it
this
also
world,
puts fear.
Country.
Absolutely. Because most of these, I talk to some young men, I be asking them and talking to them, asking them questions. They have fear. They have fear for their lives at this point in time. Yeah. But sometimes it's not all about fearing the police. You need to fear us.
Yeah, because first and foremost, once again, it goes back to if you're not policing your neighborhood and making sure that things are in order in your neighborhood, then that gives a roadmap for how they should function in greater society. Okay?
Do you think that's going to happen? That the black people in the black community gonna come together and start policing.
Not until
they used to have black clubs.
Well, they still have black clubs, but they're not. And I was part of a black club, and I told them, I said the greatest thing that we could do is I used to just walk my dog, and I still do walk my dog in a neighborhood.
It's a lot of things they could do if they came together.
But they want to sit around there and put power in somebody else's hands. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to live my life powerless. But if I always just give somebody else my power and authority, then what do I have for my children? I have absolutely nothing. What do I have for what sense would it make in order to engage with other people's children, and if they don't see any sense of right and power within me? That's ridiculous. I'm going to constantly give it to the police department. I'm going to constantly give it to somebody else. Now, hey, if it gets big enough, then yes. Other than that, I got it. I can handle it. That's what I'm here for. I'm a man. That's what and it is what it is.
It is what it is. I remember when they closed that Kroger's over there on Pearson Road, and they all out there just complaining and being like they're a victim and this and that. I'm getting a little off. But to me, I'm looking there and saying, now, if I had been there, I would have told them, look, y'all, it's enough of us out here that can buy this store.
How about that?
They don't think that way. They just rather feel sorry for themselves.
But that goes back to the institutionalism of these things that we were talking about that was mentioned before.
Okay,
if you don't believe that you can garner the monies, and we have over $1 trillion of spending power with 43 million people in this country. We can own the whole whatever. If we ever decided that we're going to leave here and take that money with us, this country would collapse.
Yeah.
This country would collapse. This country and part of the world economy would collapse because if we don't buy, and it comes from China, it comes from Korea, it comes from all these other places, Everybody else goes down because we buying it from everywhere else.
Okay, well, we're going to have to wrap this up, but I want to say
man.
one more thing. I'm sorry, but time, maybe come back on again. another
Absolutely.
day.
Next week.
It's every 2 weeks, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, in 2 weeks, we'll come back.
Okay, let's see. This is something that was sent to George that, it says, what I have seen Jews do when they were discriminated against on a Miami beach, they bought the beach.
They bought the beach, right.
And when they were discriminated against at Brandeis University, they bought the university. We can do the same thing.
We should be able to, but we don't have the mindset to do it. We
always want to be a victim.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here
it's
watching
more
them
fun.
people they on television talking about Kroger's when they closed that store up there, and I'm sitting here saying, me, if I was there, I would say, y'all, let's organize and let's buy the store. But they ain't gonna do that.
No. It's much easier to go somewhere else, and then I don't have the hassle of having to manage it and all the other stuff because I don't trust my own people to do the right thing with something that we own. And that's our issue.
Okay. All right. I hope y'all enjoyed our show, our program. But John has an announcement that he wants to make about
that. There was a make announcement. It's like we're talking about the police brutality and stuff, and there is a video that's being worked on as we speak, where it's basically working with the police chief of the city of Flint and also the McCree Theater, Charles Winfrey, about showing people how to interact with the police. And that's going to be down the road when it's going to be released. I hope it's done soon, and I think it could save a lot of lives. But that's a project that I really probably shouldn't reveal, but I think it's was pertinent to the conversation. So hopefully that materializes really, really soon, because I think that's what's got to happen. I think too, it's going to be a balance piece. It's got to be also. I don't think there's also videos out there already on YouTube that I'll see if I could post a couple when we do tags for the show, so people can watch about Busted. Ira Glasser, from a former director of the ACLU, put it together a few years ago. How to handle police stops, traffic stops, as well as coming to your house. Also, there's other videos out there how to deal with the police. The basic thing is don't do what they do on Law and Order. Don't sit down in an interview room and talk to the cops.
Television.
They are not your friends, okay?
Right.
They're not. You might sit there and think you can be witty, but they're right. They're everything you say. They're trying to find a use.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're not your friend. I mean. And I hate to tell people that you gotta approach dealings with a police officer on a day-to-day basis is a very tense politeness. Don't assume they're friends.
Absolutely.
Don't be friendly. Don't reveal anything about yourself.
Don't be
to them.
cursing them out.
Well, you actually can curse them out. I mean, they can't really bust your. By most
Someone
laws,
would get pissed
some
at you.
states might have it, but they can get pissed. I mean, but it is the First Amendment. I mean, it's just not going to go your way if you're too well for you if you do it. But you do have a right to get pissed. I've gone off on cops because, and let's face it. I mean, if they can't bear that, as long as you're not being like you're coming at them physically, if they can't handle a few words, they should leave that profession.
Right.
They should leave that profession. So
Yeah, well, there's a lot of them in there can't handle nothing, and they are just gun happy to me. And I think some of them are Ku Klux Klan members, so I'm going to leave that alone.
I was stopped by a policeman one time. I never will forget it. Davidson Road had that construction up there, and it had no left turn. You had to go down go down to Averill, and so I made a left turn anyway. I didn't even see it. And my grandson said, "Grandma, I think that policeman is trying to pull you over," because I just kept driving. I live right down the street. It's something natural. I'm just turning going home, and when he stopped me, I said, "Oh." He said, "Ma'am, do you know why I stopped you?" And I said, "No, I don't." He said, "You didn't see that no turn left sign?" I said, "No, where was it?" But the thing about it is that when he turned, he wanted my license and proof of registration and insurance. I gave that all to him, and he was walking away. Then he turned around and said, "What did you say?" And I said, "Excuse me? I didn't say anything. I just gave him the papers," and he walked away and turned around and said, "What did you say?" I mean, like, I said something smart to him, and I didn't say a word. And I said, "Wow, what was that about?"
Well, that's like about what we was talking about, the etiquette of police brutality when I was reading that earlier. And John said cursing them, yeah, because they don't like that either. They don't like you cursing them out.
But I didn't say anything.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I respect authority because they pulled me over one time. I was on my way home from work. I was working third shift. And they pulled me over, made me park my car, get in their car, and took me to jail.
What?
Okay, yeah. Because I had a warrant? I think I had a warrant out. But
See, that's what I was talking about earlier.
I had a warrant out because of speeding. I was
No.
a speedster and I didn't pay my ticket, but I was young days, you know.
Right.
Anyway, they took me away, and I never forgot that you could just be taken away. Because I couldn't call it was a weekend. I couldn't call nobody till
was
that
there for the
Monday.
whole weekend.
I was just gone. Okay? Children at home, husband at home. I was just gone. Couldn't do nothing. They up there, they was worried about me. He called my mom, you seen it? They took me down to the jail. It's just a mess. But anyway, we got to end this because we really have went over. So what we're going to do is invite Priest Elliot McCant back
Amen.
on May 11th. Then we're going to continue this
All right.
conversation.
Oh, that would be great. Oh, we'll have a whole dissertation for you.
Lord, you ought to get in contact with Brother George, but you know how Brother George is.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
I mean, he really got me going with the article he sent me about Black Lives Matter,
Well, I mean,
black
because-
crime
right,
matters
because
too.
if we didn't do that, if we didn't hurt and kill each other, if we didn't want to harm each other, then we'd have reason to make everybody in the world respect us. They don't respect us because we don't respect ourselves. And that's
Yeah.
just it. It's like what you're talking about with the group of the Jews, so-called Jews. You offend us, we buy it. Not a problem. We'll show you our power. We don't think we have power in numbers and power in dollars.
But we do. But
And
also we
I'm done.
have a lack of trust of each other.
Yeah, well,
So
you know.
anyway, that's a whole nother issue.
Right.
All right. Thank you
Thank you.
for today of
We
coming
appreciate
on.
it. I appreciate
And I'm looking forward to the next
Absolutely.
conversation.
Thank you very
I
much.
wish
Thank
I could
you.
bring Brother George on here.
Oh, that'll.
Oh my goodness. All right. Anyway, Satora's Black History Corner internet program comes to you via satellite at allpointstv.com. You can watch our program every second and fourth Monday of the month starting at 3:30. And you know what? When you come back with some suggestions or something of how we can come together to be able to police our neighborhoods.
Okay. I will
Just some,
definitely
you
do
know, something. Also, be sure to watch What's Going On with political pundit Dr. George Moss every Monday at 2 o'clock. As always, I like to say asante, a Swahili word for thank you. To all of you who have watched our program today, and if you have liked what you have seen and heard, please pass it on to others. Until next time, my great and strong people, because we are.
That's right.
You just don't know how strong
That's
you
right.
are. We still here. Keep on keeping on with us. Hotep, which means
Peace.
peace.